interrupt the speech and call on Dr. Mendoza to close the case for the proposition.
My goodness, have we heard some interesting things from our communist friend tonight? We'll come to you in a moment. We will. We'll have our say. It's democracy. We'll speak. Firstly, the floor speeches. The gentleman at the back who mentioned the Catholic Church. Whatever you're drinking, I want one afterwards. Thank you for that comment. Our friend who mentioned the Papua New Guineans. Hail fellow, well met. Let's saddle up an elephant, shoot some natives, be back in more serious point about the relative nature of values. Sir, I invite you to spend 5 minutes in a repressive region. Go to Burma, maybe North Korea, have a little chat, swap places for a while with one of the citizens unfortunate enough to live there. I guarantee you'll be hightailing it back here, and not because it's culturally different, it's because freedom is what people aspire to wherever they are in the world, and we mustn't forget that in tonight's debate as well. But let's turn to our communist friends. Sir, it was surreal. Every time you spoke, it started badly, it tailed off in the middle, and the less said about the end, the better. Shocking. At one point, I thought, we were hearing such wonderfully historic moment terms, I thought, would music start blaring over, and you start stripping like at some bad hen party? I don't know. It was that kind of unusual evening, my friends. These are the kind of debates that, you heard 25 years ago when communism was still in full throttle. Full throttle. In fact, I must say, I'm pleased you were so forthright with your views. We're both 19th century men in a way. Except my 19th century ideals led to freedom, prosperity, diversity, and democracy. Whereas yours, sir, the Marxist-Leninist views that you espouse, led to the gulags of Stalin's Russia. The gulags that laid waste to 10 to 15 million people. You want to talk about statistics, sir? Funny you didn't mention that one. Funny you didn't mention that one. That's where your values lead, sir. And that is something that we must always remember in those battles. Now to the Professor. Thank you for putting the arguments in a reasoned way. And I think there was lots of areas of commonality. But I think the one area of difference, and I think this is where things lie, I think the danger of theorising the whole time is that you can theorise the whole time. I think there's a danger that when, for example, people are dying, your arguments would be so busy formulating them, they'd be dead by the time you came to a solution on that point. We must deal with real-world solutions to real-world problems. And I think it was instructive you didn't like to use case studies. You did mention one case study which I think rather gave the game away, the South African example. I want to pay back some of the words you used. The West, or the international community, forced people to the negotiating table. They imposed sanctions upon them. And it was because of that imposition of democratic values that South Africa today is democratic. It's wonderful in theory to say that we can nurture democracy over centuries. Of course that's the ideal. But when people are encouraged to take democracy into their own hands, when it's organically kind of developed, what happens in a brutal dictatorship? They get shot down. Look what happened in Iran last year. In theory, yes, that would have swept away, but the regime was too strong. And it's at moments like that when we have that duty to impose democracy onto societies and to support those dissidents in their battles against authoritarian states. I want to leave you with one thought about how important this debate is and why your vote tonight matters, how you vote tonight matters, and why I hope you will support the motion. There's a book, a famous book, The Case for Democracy, by a famous Soviet dissident, Natan Sharansky. And in that book, Sharansky says that in all the years when he was in the Gulag, one of the things that sustained him and his fellow dissidents in their battle against Soviet totalitarianism was the knowledge that somewhere, in places like the Durham Union, in places like candlelight vigils in Paris, in small homes somewhere, there were people out there who they knew cared enough for their situation to stand up for those people's rights and to say, we support what you're doing, we want you to be free, and we will do our best to impose those values of democracy onto the regime that oppresses you. That's what gave dissidents like Sharansky, that's what gives dissidents like Liu Zhubao today, the newest Nobel Peace Prize winner, that's what gives them the courage to continue. So please, I beg you, send those dissidents a message, support the motion tonight, and help make the world a better place. Thank you.
I'd like to award the prize for the best law speech tonight to the gentleman in the black top on the second row who unfortunately didn't give his name. You can collect your bottle of wine at the end. appropriately democratic method of acclamation, which means shouting as loud as you can. So once I say and read the motion, if all those in favour could shout aye and all those against shout no. The motion before the House reads, this House believes the West has a duty to impose democracy. All those in favour? Aye! And those against?
No!
That was very close. I think the noes have it.
Yes.